Can we have some real talk for a minute? Do you ever get tired of this political era? Do you ever worry about burning out? Imagine how the fact checkers feel. All they do is fact check a president who, according to a new report in the Washington Post, has made history with 1,318 false or misleading claims just since he's taken office. That is 5 falsehoods a day, and that's assuming Trump is as misleading on the weekends as he is the rest of the week.
We've signed more bills, and I'm talking about through the legislature, than any president ever. They were people protesting very quietly the taking down of the statue of Robert E. Lee. They had a permit. The other group didn't have a permit. The people of this country want tax cuts. They want lower taxes. We're the highest taxed nation in the world.
Those false claims can be enraging or exhausting, especially because, as a reality show character and politician, Trump feeds off emotional outrage, which raises the burnout question. Are you falling into Trump's trap by getting mad about Trump? You know, so far as president, he seems to be saying to the nation, I'm not a leader, I just troll a lot. And some people are tired of being trolled and want to drop out and turn away from the news or politics. But experts say the key to avoiding burnout is approaching Trump or all politics in a mindful way. Author Robert Wright arguing outrage feeds Trump, while more focused activism can address what got Trump elected: globalization, trade, immigration, and technological challenges. Wright is our special guest on The Beat. He's the author of books on both game theory and Buddhism. And we're also joined by one of our favorites, the Harvard Kennedy School's Leah Wright-Rigueur. Thank you both. Robert, what kind of activism do you think both works and avoids this burnout?
Well, I think mindful activism does. First of all, in the sense that I think mindfulness meditation can help prevent burnout. It can make you more emotionally resilient. But I think to leave it at that kind of sells it short. I think that being mindful, and to some extent I just mean in the everyday English sense of the word, of being kind of careful and attentive to all relevant factors. I think being mindful, like when you're on social media, for example, can help you engage in a way that is more constructive from your point of view. And if you are an opponent of Trump's, as I am, it can keep you from being emotionally reactive in a way that feeds his narrative and I think consolidates his base. Well,
you say that, use that word, and some people say, what does that mean? I mean, Barack Obama is known for being very deliberate and thoughtful and mindful. And Leah, he has spoken out about when people get frustrated, think back to what so many people have been through and how much more difficult it may have been previously. Here he was on the Selma anniversary.
If you think nothing's changed in the past 50 years, ask somebody who lived through the Selma or Chicago or Los Angeles of the 1950s. Ask the female CEO who once might have been assigned to the secretarial pool if nothing's changed. Ask your gay friend if it's easier to be out and proud in America now than it was 30 years ago.
Leo, what do you think the Obama approach would be here to avoid burnout?
Well, you know, Barack Obama in the past couple months hasn't been able to help himself and has spoken out a few times, too. So I do think that part of this is, you know, part of what Obama is saying is, you know, think about what our ancestors have done. Think about that kind of resilience. With that said, the circumstances, the moment that we're in right now are in some ways kind of uniquely different, which calls for a uniquely different approach. So I think, you know, one of the things that we can talk about, we can really talk about, is how to kind of alleviate or how to kind of deal with this idea of outrage and how to deal with fatigue. And, you know, one of the things that we can do, we can talk about, you know, pulling back and using social media strategically, especially now that we know that Russia has, you know, Russia intervened in Facebook and Twitter and Google to sow discord and, you know, take advantage of partisanship and polarization. But the other thing that I think is really important, and this goes to Robert's point as well, is not allowing the chaos chaos, right, and the kind of the craziness of the president and the president's White House, of the White House, so the chaos of the White House, to really determine, your response or your reaction. So really figuring out how not to let the White House drive the narrative. I think a lot of that has to do with the outrage and the fatigue that people are feeling, particularly since on any given day, Trump wakes up and determines the agenda for the day just by the amount of tweets that he sends out. So part
Robert,
of this
yeah.
is putting the agency and putting back in the hands of the people.
So, Robert, how do you do that? How do you stay authentic but not be ruled by what you might call, I guess, political emotions every day?
Well, I think the first step is to recognize that often our outrage serves Trump's purposes. I mean, I think political polarization serves his purposes to some extent. And certainly, I just wrote this piece on what I call mindful resistance in Vox, and I used this example of a tweet that got like 7,000 retweets. And the tweet was something like, it was just like, Trump is a terrible person, stoking the terrible instincts of terrible followers. And I just made the point that, when we send the message that we consider all of his followers terrible people, that reinforces his narrative that these snooty coastal elites hold his followers in contempt. That's what helped him get elected. And the other thing is that when we essentialize his followers that way and think that they're all racist or all stupid, when in fact it's much more complicated than that, we're not going to think clearly about what exactly got him elected and how we can keep him from getting elected again.
And
as for the question,
go ahead.
I mean, as for the question of how you do it, I think, first of all, just being conscious of the problem gets you somewhere. But I also genuinely think that actual mindfulness meditation, I have a daily practice, makes you more aware of your feelings, such as outrage. You're more likely to observe them welling up and then be less reactive and more reflective and actually pause and decide, is it good to retweet this?
It's fascinating what you say, and I think it resonates as well, because if the typical liberal thing is not to try to give everyone a judgment and never a second chance, right, then you're not defined by one mistake or one vote, even if people strongly disagree on the vote and what it represents. Robert Wright, I hope you come back, and Leo Wright-Rigueur, thank you both.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.